So the heroes of the DC universe are in a little bit of a pickle right now. As you see, every hero on Earth without any type of ability, no matter if it's alien, magical, or even Speed Force, every hero is now a baseline human, as Amanda Waller starts to enact her will. Now this is the hero informer, and let's see what's happening. So starting off, we see something interesting. Interesting in the fact that we see Amanda Waller has basically won already. You see, this here is a metahuman detention center where 90% of the superheroes on Earth are depowered and captured. As Amanda Waller goes on to say, superheroes by the dozen, drained and beaten. They are treated like the criminals they are, held permanently under lock and key. As we move over and pick up at the Hall of Order, where we see a widespread monitor of all the heroes that have been captured and some still out there, with Amanda further going on to say, over 80% of Earth's superheroes have been depowered and incarcerated. But the only problem is, the last 20% includes the biggest fish yet to be caught, which of course is the Man of Steel himself, Superman. But as we find out and see, Amanda Waller isn't alone and hasn't done this all by herself. No, she has help. She has something called a War Council, consisting of a couple members such as FAILSAFE, the Batman creation that has taken on the entire Justice League, the BRAINIAC Queen, which as it sounds, is another version of Brainiac, and even Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, who has switched sides for whatever reason, which isn't known to us now, but we will probably find out soon, to work with the bad guys to take down the Justice League and the heroes of the world, meaning he's a traitor to not only the heroes, but his friends and allies. So as this so-called War Council goes on to continue to talk, they discuss how are they going to get the rest of the heroes in their grasp and locked up, with Queen Brainiac going on to say the next logical step would be to lure them into the open, targeting the humans they care for, meaning the heroes' loved ones, families, and other people they know. But even though Amanda Waller is spearheading this entire operation, he or she seemingly has some limits and morals, as she goes on to say, no, those humans are civilians. Our goal here is to protect ordinary people and keep them safe. I am not a sociopath, which I mean, like, come on now, who are we fooling? This is Amanda Waller we're talking about. But she then goes on to give the rest of her little War Council here instructions, how Green Arrow and Failsafe are going to continue to monitoring the task force, a group of modified Amazos specifically made and intended to permanently absorb and keep the powers of different heroes in the Justice League at large. But Failsafe and Green Arrow are tasked with monitoring and make sure they contain all the power they're absorbing. Dreamer here going to be a stealth asset, and the Brainiac Queen is going to be the driving force with a frontal assault. A assault to where? Well, we will soon find out as we move over to this Fortress of Solitude. In here we see things are genuinely looking bad for the heroes, because not only are 80% of the heroes on Earth depowered and imprisoned, but even part of the remaining 20% are depowered as well. As we see most of the heroes on Earth gathered at the Fortress of Solitude, trying to put together what even happened and what they can do. And here we see the Justice League and superhero community is pretty dysfunctional, and less of a well-oiled machine that it might usually be, as we see them fight over who should be the leader and put together the strategies to win, with mainly Batman and Mr. Terrific fighting it over. Well, it is until the bickering is stopped by one person, that person being surprisingly Nightwing, as he not only gets the attention of the Justice League, but every hero at the fortress, as Nightwing representing the Titans goes on to give a little speech. A speech in which he basically says, Waller thinks she has won, but she doesn't know what we're actually capable of. She thinks we will fold without super strength or powers, but the truth is we couldn't even if we wanted to. The one thing she will never realize is the will and the commitment that each and every one of us decides to do every day to protect the helpless and fight against injustice. And that will be her downfall, which goes on to not only press the other heroes, but Batman himself. And of course, with Nightwing taking all the attention, he is the one to go on to set the teams and strategies, which I think this is a pretty good moment, just showing how far Nightwing has come from being Robin, a sidekick, to now a full hero in his own right and becoming a leader good enough that even Batman himself is impressed. But as he goes on to break the heroes up into certain teams, specifically Batman going on to find a mother box, for Superman and others to see if the multiverse is of any help to them, for Black Canary and her squad to go to try to retrieve Green Arrow, who is seemingly a traitor against the heroes, and lastly for Wonder Woman and her little team to go to get information on where Waller is holding the other heroes so they can be freed. But as soon as Nightwing is done, Superman this time comes up with a new development, saying not only is this fortress impenetrable, but we'll use it as our base of operations, because over the years of fighting villains, the armory has weapons confiscated of every villain and major threat, so the depowered heroes now can take advantage of that. But he also goes on to reveal a while back, Batman and him make tactical suits for the Justice League with some surprise upgrades, meaning even though 90% of the heroes here are depowered, they now have special suits that empower them and can keep them in the superhero business a little longer. But as soon as things are looking up for them, with a plan and new gear, things are about to come crashing down, and crashing down hard. As while everybody is getting their bearings, getting ready to do what they have to do, we see two figures approach the Fortress of Solitude. And while those two figures approach, we see Aquaman and Superman sitting down talking, with Superman displaying his distress over his son John, who in the previous issue was taken after Superman was shot and helpless after his powers were depleted. And just then, the front entrance of this Fortress of Solitude starts to explode. So much for being impenetrable, and the two intruders are none other than the Queen Brainiac and the new cyborg Superman, Jonathan Kent. And of course, Superman, being obviously furious and distraught over what he is seeing, he rushes up yelling what has happened. It seems like his son is too far gone as he delivers a thunderclap and all hell starts to break loose. And Nightwing gathers the Titans, some of the only heroes with still abilities left, and tries to fight. But as we will see, it's almost pointless, as this Queen Brainiac is a powerhouse in her own right, with whatever advanced technology here at the fortress doing absolutely nothing to her, as she effortlessly disarms everybody and wraps them up, sending them off into different portals, already dwindling the heroes' numbers as is, making their chance for victory or even survival plummet by the second, as even Batman makes note of this as he tries to escape, saying every hero she adds to Waller's collection through those portals is one less soldier on our side. And as all-out battle continues to rage out through the Fortress of Solitude, we see one particular moment with Plastic Man, who is depowered, who is just normal flesh man I guess now, as he gets wrapped up by Queen Brainiac, with her going on to say, "Your bones are no longer elastic. I acknowledge your agony, but it will not spare you from submission," as she cracks and mangles his body. But it seems like the only heroes who have any bit of success are the Titans, as they rush John, actually putting this new cyborg Superman on his back foot, with Raven, Starfire, Wonder Girl still having her powers, and Beast Boy using weaponry. But it seems like anytime the heroes even get any footing above the villains, they are knocked 2 steps back, as we see a secret Amazo enter the fold now, draining the rest of the heroes of their powers. Even Raven herself, who is no slouch in terms of magic and power, but she gets drained just like that. And even while this Amazo gets cut in half by one of the heroes, he simply regenerates, claiming that they are indestructible. And while all this chaos and fighting is going on, we see Mr. Terrific and Blue Beetle, the Ted Kord version of him at least, off trying to hurry up and build a machine that can seemingly teleport them somewhere else, as staying here is certain death and defeat. And while they are building, we see Superman finally confront John, trying to talk to him, trying to break through to him, even though he is basically a cyborg now, and under the influence of Waller and Queen Brainiac. And he isn't successful until Flash, in his new redesigned suit, pulls up on his all-new speedster bike holding a case of kryptonite, because as you know, Wally is currently depowered, so to make up with his lack of Speed Force speed, he has a new turbo bike. And in my opinion, I think the design is pretty cool, at least, looking like a speed racer, as he holds out the box of kryptonite, telling Superman he's sorry, but there is no other option. But again, as this is happening, there is chaos all over the fortress with many different heroes, as you see what Batman and some of the other heroes are doing, with Batman trying to retrieve the Phantom Projector to send the villains into the Phantom Zone, but is stopped by one of the Amazos, grabbing him by the neck and immobilizing him. And here we see an interesting line of dialogue, as his new advanced Amazo greets Batman, saying "Hello, grandfather." And he isn't technically wrong, because Batman created FAILSAFE, and FAILSAFE the machine created these Amazos. But Batman, not wanting to be associated and reminded of his failures of creating FAILSAFE in the first place, yells at him to never call him that, as he reaches out with ultrasonics to disrupt the Amazo. As we immediately move over back with Superman and his son, with Flash now riding off after his job is done, with seemingly the kryptonite being successful in working, breaking the connection of Queen Brainiac to John. And as he gets in close, John whispers to Superman, telling him that there's a way to end this. You have to join us. As it seems John was faking himself being hurt just so he can get in close to Superman. Reaching out, he grabs his arms, and the technology part seemingly infecting Superman in almost a controlling way. But before he is able to fully corrupt Superman even further, the Flash comes rocketing back on his new bike, carrying the piece of kryptonite and yanking this new cyborg Superman away. But before he is able to get far and through the exit, John uses his powers and causes an explosion, making Flash fall off of his bike and knocked unconscious. But at the very least of all of this chaos, it allowed Blue Beetle and Mr. Terrific to finally construct the portal they were building, an exit, but it's unstable and it won't hold, meaning if they are not fast enough, all the heroes may not even make it across. And so seeing this, Superman decides to create an ultimate distraction. He calls out to the Fortress of Solitude supercomputer and initiates a self-destruct feature, which initiates a 10-second countdown until the entire fortress comes crashing down, as he picks up Plastic Man and runs towards the portal. But before he is able to get close enough, Queen Brainiac grabs him by the throat, telling him that he will not leave and that she is not done with him yet. But he is able to be saved by Dreamer, who throughout this entire comic so far has been in the background, witnessing the injustice and damage and pain that Queen Brainiac and ultimately Amanda Waller has been causing, because previously she was a hero herself, but has been helping Amanda Waller because she has threatened her family. But now Dreamer just can't sit by and watch this any longer, as she herself goes on to attack and distract Queen Brainiac while the other heroes try to escape, with her even going on to say, "Seeing John like that was the last straw. I am done being Waller's puppet, her plaything. I won't be a part of it any longer. Everything I've done was to protect my family, but my family would never want this. Amanda, if you're listening, you can go." But before she is able to finish her sentence, the self-destruct timer completed, initiating the ultimate destruction of the entire fortress and ultimately killing anyone inside who isn't durable enough to survive it, including possibly Dreamer herself. But as the dust settles, we see this new cyborg Superman, John Kent, alive and well, and seemingly the cybernetic hold on him disconnecting as he seemingly gets his own personality back and comes to terms on what he has done. But he doesn't have much time to mourn the atrocities that he has committed, as it seems the Queen Brainiac has also survived, being as durable as she is, as she creeps up her way behind John in reconnecting her influence over him once more, with the comic going on to say, "He remains under her full control. The fugitives will be found. The boy has super senses. Trust me, wherever the heroes have fled, they cannot hide from a Kryptonian." But shifting our view from there to Gamora Island, where we see Amanda Waller and her team interacting and watching this entire debacle unfold, she questions if Green Arrow knows about Dreamer, how she basically switched sides on them and died trying to protect the heroes. But as it turns out, he doesn't, as they have him busy cataloging the weapons they have took from the Justice League archives, since he is really the only one who knows what half of the stuff can do, as we see Oliver Queen himself going through the different weapons and keepings from previous villains in Justice League battles, but coming to one specific object, and as he picks it up, a tiny hourglass figure, he says "time's up" with a smile on his face. And what does this mean, and what does he plan to do? We don't know, as this issue comes to a close. So yeah, that was the second issue of DC's event, Absolute Power. And to be honest, the heroes are in a much worse spot than they were even at the beginning. There was literally no upside for the heroes during this issue. More heroes got depowered and they lost more members. Superman's fortress and home base destroyed. Jonathan Kent being the new cyborg Superman further under Queen Brainiac's control, and much more problems. But if you enjoyed this video, leave a like or comment down below your thoughts. Subscribe if you're new and enjoy this type of content. This was the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.